John Cena's not a heel no more. Things have technically been set back to their factory settings, and it was all good, right? I mean, the heel turn, even though it was short-lived, it worked, right?
Hell no!
This is the Wrestling Old Head. You have entered the portal of pro wrestling.
What the world is watching.
All right, let's talk about it. So John Cena has wiped away all of the heel turn run that he had where and I think it was March 1st, where he joined The Rock and Travis Scott, and he didn't label it as a heel turn. He was scorned. He was hurt because the fans chose other stars that he didn't deem as big as him above himself, right? I watch the pronouns, pal, but you know what I'm saying, right? So Cody Rhodes went against John Cena at WrestleMania, a very infamous WrestleMania main event for all the wrong reasons. This wasn't exactly their highly acclaimed match that they just had at SummerSlam. This was a match where many people actually claimed it to be one of the worst matches in WrestleMania history. So now we're going to break down why the heel turn worked or didn't work. And I'm going to try and be as bipartisan as I possibly can. But before I do that, if you have an opinion on the John Cena heel turn, go ahead and leave it in the comments. Whether you liked it, whether you hated it, whether you were indifferent, whether maybe you had an idea about where it could have gone and you want to tell me about that. I'd love to hear it. Go ahead and drop that in the comments section down below. Now, personally, I think the John Cena heel turn worked, but it's like a movie that was going good until the ending. The ending could have been so much better. And I think that the WWE, since about May, since they acquired AAA, has been on a fast track. And I don't know I think they're just going with momentum. I mean, there's so much that has gone on since May in the WWE. They got on Netflix. They got on ESPN. They got a deal with Disney. They got a deal with with Peacock is ending soon. They've got the John Cena heel turn that's going to turn into a face turn. They brought Brock back. They've got The Rock that seemingly disappeared. Travis Scott disappeared. They brought Jelly Roll in and had him wrestle. So many things have been happening, and they've had back-to-back PLEs to where they don't even have a whole lot of wiggle room to build for these PLEs. I mean, Evolution 2 could have been so much better in execution, but you got to understand that there were a lot of injuries, so there's so much going on. I understand that they're up against the wall as far as their space and patience to properly plan these things out. So I'm not giving them a pass here, because the way that they turned John Cena back into face, in my opinion, back into a fan favorite, was just not well done. And if we're gonna hold other companies and other companies' creative feet to the fire, then we have to do that with the WWE creative in this scenario. This was poorly done. The heel turn, albeit a bit abrupt, and left a lot to the imagination. I mean, during the John Cena heel turn, we still never got AJ Styles against John Cena, which I believe to be a crime against humanity. AJ Styles, who spent his entire or most of his heel run with Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson talking about beating John Cena or beating up John Cena, he never got an opportunity to go against John Cena during his heel run, which I feel no matter where they were, whether it be in Europe, whether it be here in the States, it could have been a phenomenal match, pun intended, strongly intended on that one, and they did not go with it. And that they definitely dropped the ball on that. But in total, the John Cena heel turn was John Cena going on tour with different iterations of a heel. He was brash. He was cocky. He was stoic. He was a weasel. He was like, he tried to hit all of the notes of classic heels from the past and gave it to us in this box, this bow with a bow on top, and spent most of the time feuding with Cody Rhodes. he didn't get a chance to really branch out and have other matches. Of course, he wrestled Randy Orton, he wrestled Ron the Truth Killings. He had that, but it just wasn't, it felt like they were leaving a lot on the table, and most of it felt like they hadn't planned it out as properly as they wanted to. Now, I mean, if you believe the rumor and innuendo, it was definitely a situation in creative that was pushed by, well, it was pushed by Dwayne Johnson for Cody Rhodes to turn heel. When they pushed back, they being creative, Triple H, Paul Levesque, and Nick Khan, they felt that they had to make another option. They had to counter offer, and the counter offer was for John Cena, and John Cena accepted. And I don't know if they had a lot of time to flesh this out. So what we got was a very quick heel run, which mostly centered around Cody Rhodes, that then led to a unceremonious, hey, Cody, I'm sorry, you were right. Thanks for bringing me back. I love the fans now moment on the Friday SmackDown before SummerSlam. It was a little letdown. You know, there's so many other options that they could have gone. So many other places. I mean, John Cena could have turned face in the middle of the SummerSlam match. That would have been huge. They could have set it up in a different way. I think, honestly, though, looking up on the bright spots of this turn back to a fan favorite for John Cena, I think it really saves Cody Rhodes from having the divisive crowds that he was getting. He can now tie himself to John Cena, who is getting cheered anyways, and really help the crowd get more endeared to him. I think that was one of the saving graces of this. Also, I thought it was a really calculated move to have him on SmackDown in Quebec for the first time since SummerSlam as a fan favorite. I thought that was well done because the crowd went bananas for him, and they wanted to cheer for him, and they were gonna seemingly cheer for him like that anyways, albeit now that they're allowed to, it was probably a lot louder. So maybe, you know, there's a few things that they considered where Brock is allowed to come back. They wanted to front run that because they don't have a lot left in the year before John Cena retires. So you got to get at least 2 matches in against Brock Lesnar. And then you also have the European tour that they're going on right now. So they want to get John Cena in the European tour as a fan favorite. It can only help ticket sales. They just did a massive deal with ESPN, so you want John Cena to be able to do the press and then not to seem like it's kind of coinciding with this heel turn. They want to make it work in that regard. So I think there are some bright spots, but their execution of it was very abrupt and kind of washed away all of the storyline progression that you could have built to a proper ending. You know, there could have been a proper ending that they could have left this on where we were all satisfied, it all made sense, and it worked in execution. This instead was like, let's throw the baby away with the bathwater, let's rip all of the scripts up, and now let's start anew because it was crap, it didn't work, so let's move on. And that's just not smart, in my opinion, and it left a lot of fans yearning for more. And of course, you add in the Brock Lesnar, who's very divisive in and of itself, by bringing Brock back. But I'll say, I'll count my counterpoint to that. I'll grant you that maybe the Brock Lesnar return was not the best considering how fresh all of the stuff that's going on with him in his personal life with the court case with Vince McMahon is. I'll grant you that. However, given the list of legends and popular rivals for John Cena, he did not have a whole lot left that are still within the WWE for him to wrestle where it would make sense other than a Brock Lesnar. I mean, going over the list of rivals, you know, Randy Orton, he had a match with Randy Orton. CM Punk, he's had a match with CM Punk recently. But then there's Edge, who's Adam Copeland or Cope in AEW currently. There's The Rock. He's disappeared. I don't think we're going to get The Rock and John Cena before John Cena retires. Batista, who now became a very popular Hollywood actor, it does not look like he is interested in coming back to the ring anytime soon. There's Kurt Angle, not going to be able to do it. Paul Levesque, Triple H, not going to be able to do it. Shawn Michaels, not going to be able to do it. Bray Wyatt, rest in peace. Undertaker, not going to be able to do it. Chris Jericho, AEW. John Bradshaw Layfield, not going to be able to do it. I don't think he's in wrestling shape, and I don't think even if he did come back that they could put on a type of match that would be, that would hold up against some of their previous matches. All respect to JBL. Kevin Owens, he's got neck surgery. Seth Rollins, he's busy on Raw. The Big Show, he's Paul White in AEW. Then you have The Miz. You have The Great Khali. You have Rob Van Dam. You have Umaga, rest in peace. You have Wade Barrett, who's doing commentary. You have Ryback, who's, he's, So you don't have a whole lot of legends from the previous era where John Cena was on top and he was Super Cena and he was killing it that you can bring back to have one final match. And Brock Lesnar seems to be the only option to where Brock Lesnar is currently in wrestling shape. He looks like he hasn't aged a bit. And he was, out of all of those guys that I listed, he is one of the bigger rivals that John Cena has ever had. I mean, going back to 2014, the type of matches that they had, and it's the doomsday to John Cena's Superman is Brock Lesnar. That's just the way it is. But there is one shining bright light out of this entire heel turn that I think most should focus on, but very few have, which is that this heel turn has seemingly reignited the love for the John Cena that we knew and loved before the heel turn. Now, obviously they were in Quebec, so, that's a given that they're going to love him because they don't see him that much, and they hadn't seen him that much during his, Super Cena run. So they're going to give him all the love in the world, all the love that they were giving from their television screens. They finally got to do it live, so they're going to go banana. But I think it's going to have a snowball effect to where fans are now allowed to cheer for John Cena, and they're getting closer to his final match, to the final time that he's going to stand in the middle of a ring as a full-time performer or part-time performer or performer in general. The next time we see John Cena after this retirement is probably going to be for a few one-offs where he comes out to the ring as a surprise, where he's maybe a special referee, maybe he'll do some guest commentary, maybe he'll host a SummerSlam or WrestleMania, but this is it. I do hold out hope that we may see one more John Cena match sometime in the future when he's well into his 50s and the acting stuff starts to dial it down a bit. He's got a love for professional wrestling, and most of those legends, man, they say that they're retiring, but they always come back for one more match. I mean, we never thought we would see Stone Cold Steve Austin in the ring again, and he main evented WrestleMania against Kevin Owens. I mean, so there is a possibility that we could see John Cena back at some time, but I think you got well over a decade or at least 8 years before we were able to see that again. So fans are going to really be cheering and getting behind John Cena, and I believe that this window of the heel turn allowed for that kind of face John Cena to be more favorable with a wider audience. So you gotta love that. That is a bright spot out of this entire fiasco, is that now the fans are kind of, it's like fresh in their eyes again. It's like more nostalgic than it ever has been before. So that's something that you can look at as a bright spot. But over and all, I have to say that this heel turn could have been a whole lot better. And I think one of the best things about the heel turn, obviously, was the John Cena pipe bomb, where he kind of mimicked the CM Punk pipe bomb promo. I thought that might have been one of the best things out of this whole heel turn. I think it was a part of the problem of why, because he still came out to his music, same mannerisms, same attire. I guess trying to pass it off as the fan, you the fans hurt me, so you get nothing was an idea, but I just don't think it worked in execution. And then you got this pipe bomb promo that was the coolest thing to come out of the heel turn, and it actually turned him into more popular because of how good it was, But yeah, the whole ending with the whole, I just wanted to make it so none of you would forget me. It just, yeah, they could have gone about it better. So aside from the pipe bomb promo, there is not a single thing that I can think of that really stood out as great stuff from that heel turn. But if I'm forgetting, you guys let me know in the comments what was your favorite moments from the heel turn. If you thought it was executed well, you guys go ahead and let me know in the comments. And if you can think of any other WWE legends that were rivals for John Cena that could possibly come back and have one more match with him. This has been the Wrestling Old Head. You have entered the portal of pro wrestling. And as always, you guys, stay tuned for more. Thanks for watching.